So joining us today, we've got Nathan Hilton from the Royal Wolverhampton School, head coach down there. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. So how's things going at Wolverhampton? How are things developing in the programme since you arrived?
Yeah, they're going along pretty well. We've gone from when we started 18 months ago, I think we had about 10 or 11 athletes in the programme. We've now got 21. And that ranges from some that we've taken on a trial basis that are kind of regional standard all the way up to junior international athletes, of which we've got 2 in the programme at the minute, Rachael Kelly and Becky Cole, who both made European juniors last year. So
and you mentioned Rachael Kelly there. I mean, what's it like having someone like her in the programme? How does she motivate the others in the group?
Yeah, I think what Rachel's done for the programme, having that kind of success in the first year, has been a massive learning curve for the other athletes in terms of those athletes believing that they can also get to that level, that they've seen somebody in their own programme do it off what I would say not a massive amount of work. She's obviously a very, very talented young lady, but it's given the other athletes the belief that they can go on and achieve at that level. And I think that's been the biggest thing to come out of it, that we're not, they don't perceive themselves as nationals being good enough anymore, that somebody's come out of the programme and gone on to European junior level and everybody else is aspiring to be at that level, and they believe they can get there as well.
Yeah, good. What about you? What made you want to coach in the first place?
Well, I've been coaching now, I think this is like my 13th year I've been coaching, so it's been a long trek. And initially I was kind of part-time and working full-time as well, and really it was just a continuation from being a swimmer. Really, I just kind of stopped swimming and went straight into coaching, and I never looked back. Really, it's just what I wanted to do and enjoy working with athletes and trying to help them fulfil their potential and what they want to achieve. So
how tough was that then, having a full-time job and coaching?
Very, very tough. In the early years, it was kind of, I was working 40 to 50 hours a week in my main job, and then probably 20 plus 25 hours a week on deck. That was just on deck at the club. But I have to say, when I went full-time coaching, that's when things really started to turn around, because I had a lot more time to dedicate what I was doing. Everything want to rush, and I wasn't catching half an hour's sleep here and there and everywhere else. So it was a struggle, but it was worth it in the long run. So that's the main thing.
So who are your coaching influences? Who are the people that mentor you and you look up to and motivate you to do what you do?
Yeah. I think there's a few really. Obviously, I used to swim for Ian Turner. I used to swim with Ian. He obviously achieved great things with Paul Palmer and a number of other athletes as well. Dave Legg, he's been mentored me a lot, done a lot of work with me. I've learned massive amounts off Dave in the last kind of 4 or 5 years. Having the opportunity to be on the European junior team with Dave Haller last year, to have that experience at what I would term a relatively young age in terms of coaching, working with Dave Haller was absolutely fantastic.
And what specifically do you think some of those guys, I mean, just pick out 1 or 2 guys there and the things specifically that you think you've learned from them, what they taught you?
I think Dave Haller certainly opened my eyes last year at European Juniors, just how calm he was in the kind of pressure situation, just totally took the pressure off the athletes. It was all about just going in and enjoying themselves, and just seeing that in that kind of environment where you've probably been at a national level and you've won national medals, but then you go in and some of these guys are, certainly the men are swimming faster than what we can get our senior guys to go, and to take that transition and just be in that environment and just have somebody like Dave there just say, well, have you thought about this, or have you thought about that, or it was a massive learning curve for me. And then I think with somebody like Dave Legg, just not so much what he's told me or said to me, or just getting me thinking about stuff, just how he poses his questions, and have you maybe thought about this or thought about that, and that's been very beneficial to me, certainly as an individual.
And how would you really describe your coaching style or philosophy?
In terms of philosophy, I run probably on what I would say a middle distance stroke distance medley based program. It's very skill based. And I believe certainly if we're working with the age group guys, I would believe in them having all 4 strokes. I think when they get obviously a bit further up the tree like Rachel, you need to be specific to what she's trying to achieve. But even with Rachel, I do try and make sure that we still do medley work in there just to break it up more than anything else. And not just be on fly all the time or back all the time or whatever, just to mix it up for her. So aerobic, skill-based, medley, and then obviously when they get a bit older, becoming more specific to their events. Like all the guys have like their own race models that they work with on Parkside and stuff like that to the events that they go with. So, and hard working as well. I think that's one of the keys. I think if it was easy to get on an Olympic team, everybody would be doing that. I think the hard work and the commitment and the sacrifice is what makes the difference between a good athlete and a great athlete. So.
What about kicking in your programmes? What kind of level of importance does kicking have?
Yeah, I think coming into West Midlands, like their level of kicking is absolutely not where it should be at this moment in time. And it was one of the biggest differences I noticed coming down here. And every talk or conference that I've been to over the last kind of 5 or 6 years is everybody talking about how much kicking they do. And we would normally do in a general week, we would normally do a max kick set on a Wednesday night, and then really I would do kind of smaller blocks of kick maybe after our main sets on a Monday morning, Tuesday night, Thursday night and Saturday morning. We'd do kick as a kind of removal type exercise after our main blocks of work.
How would you structure that then as a set? Because an example of a set, the kind of kicking.
What, in terms
removal?
Of a removal set? Yeah. Like some of the stuff that we do, so we'd maybe go a 50 kick best effort, so this would be after the main set. We'd go 50 kick best effort and then go maybe 3 100s where we went the first 25 of each of those 100s at half of that 50 time, and then just 100 medley drill or something like that, and we'd maybe go through that 3 or 4 times and then kind of swim down off that just to get, in terms of removing the lactate and from obviously using the legs being the biggest muscles to do that. So it's kind of stuff we'd normally do.
Oh, good. Where do you stand on volume versus quality and the balance between the two in training?
I wouldn't say in terms of the volume that we do. I would say an average session we'd probably do 6 to 6.5k. That would be our general mileage. But I'm not too worried if we're going some speed work, it's only 4.5k. I'm not too fussed really. I think when I was younger, I was all got to get the sessions in and the volume and all that kind of stuff. And as you get a bit older, you learn a bit more, and I'm not somebody that's going to go 80 or 90k in a week, because I just I think you can at that point, I think there's a critical breaking point where it can only last for so long. You can only do that kind of work for so long. And I think if you maybe a season or 2 seasons that you can get up there and do that consistently without the athlete breaking down. So I would say like guys that are doing 9 sessions a week, they probably do between 55 and 65k depending on where we are in our seasonal plan. And then
so would you say then that you're sacrificing a little bit of the volume so that the quality is right, not just in terms of the quality of the key sets that you run, but also the quality of the skill and the technical side, as you say, very much on the skill side of things? Yeah,
and that's something that I've probably learned with Rachel over the last couple of years as well, in terms of how I would work with her. She's not a girl that would go in and do your 2100s fly and hold 103 or 104. You'd be lucky to get 2 of those, never mind 20. So we in terms of her development, we've structured that a lot more over, been a lot more specific in terms of race pace work. So we'd maybe go 20 or 30 50s trying to hold the pace that she would be holding over the 200, or we'll do some work where we're working her back end of the second 50 of the 100. For example, like last year, we did a lot of work on the back end 50 of the 100, and we'd planned for her to come back on the second 50 on 31.77 for the second 50, something like that, and she came back when she went 59.8 on 31.75. Right. So the kind of work that we do is specific to their race, rather than just doing 2100s for the sake of it. We're kind of more specific to what she does when she's racing, really, which is why I think her 200 took a big drop as well last year. She went from 222 to 213 in a season, so because I think she believed that what she'd done was ready for her. So.
Oh, good. Well, thanks again for taking the time to talk to us, and hopefully everything will go well for you in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so.